I suppose when a director is reading a play, he's got a vision of how he might conceive the piece, but he needs to realise that. So he's going to ask a designer to come up with, to do the research first of all, to find, in this case, with To Sow With Love, it's a real place, it's a real time, very specific time. So the designer is there to find the research and find the literal pieces that we need, a way of telling the story through a location or a series of locations, providing what reality or a sense of reality that we can to the storytelling. And then, of course, very importantly, to make it a production that will come to performance and will be seen in the 10, in this case, 10 theatres that we are playing.
Conceptually, it's quite simple, really, that it had to reflect the fact that it's a school. We wanted a sense, I think, of the decay of the period. So we're in 1948, East End of London. So we wanted an acknowledgement of the place we were telling the story in. So the set has a kind of internal, external feel, so that we can be in the middle of a classroom, but at the same time be reminded of actually a lot of the conditions in which these people were living in were bomb sites still. So the school was in quite a tough area economically, so it's a bit rough around the edges. So I think Mike Britton and I talked a lot about that, and so the main visual aspect of the story is clearly contained within a school, but has nods towards the geographical area in which it's set.
The director's going to rely on the designer to provide him with a set that is going to be easy to use. This particular play has 14 scenes in the first half, 14 scenes in the second half. It's very difficult for the director to realise that without a set that is going to offer the fluidity that he needs, moving from one scene to another very quickly, very easily. You know, we've got 12 desks and 12 chairs in the classroom scene. They have to be brought on somehow, they have to be brought off. We have to set up the staff room scene. Without a design that allows for that to be done easily and efficiently, the play is going to plod through. And we need this play to move on very quickly because of the number of locations, the number of scenes that there are.
Whilst we have desks and chairs, those desks and chairs either become something else or they visibly get pushed by the young cast. So we're trying to inject the energy of the school into, I suppose, the staging in some way. So in a way in which that the teachers are kind of bound by the energy of these children, so much like the production is bound by the energy of this, so that you see them changing the stuff, you see them manoeuvring objects and bits of furniture as part of the way we're telling the story. So fluidity was going to be important. We couldn't be getting involved in big cumbersome scene changes because I think that would have destroyed the rhythm and integrity of the piece. And also, it's a nod also towards that we are in a theatre, we are presenting a story. It's not real. The emotions and the situations are real, but actually the presentation is an acknowledgement of we're in a theatre. So the blackboard, for example, is a huge blackboard that spans the width of the stage. So it's not naturalistic in that sense.
Basically, the first real port of call is what we call the white card model, which tends to be a scale model. Generally in theatre we work at 1 to 25, and the nature of it is a white card, i.e. it's a white shape of what people are proposing. Basically because actually model making gets more and more complex and is more expensive in terms of designs and expenses. So you don't want to go to the investment of a finished model to then go, actually we can't do this. So it's there to kind of ballpark out ideas. And as a production manager, you go and you look at it and you go, I think that's possible, maybe not. It's quite hard actually as a production manager, and particularly I think because I tend to be quite optimistic in terms of, and if I think I see something that's a really good idea, then I want to try and achieve it. So it depends, but you know, you look and you know something's going to be hard, but you like to providing people are prepared to come with you and know that there will be elements of compromise, then it's quite good. Normally you'd try and have a couple of weeks and you'd work towards what would be the final model, and that should be a full colour model, same scale of 1 to 25, with in theory full plans and costume designs, and that's ideally presented and in essence signed off, be it by the producers, by me as something that we can achieve. It just that's the process really, and then in theory we're into the build.
We build everything which the designer envisaged. So basically we've got drawings and a model, both scale 1 to 25, which they'll make, and then they'll come to us and give it to us, and we'll sit down and have a chat about what's best, if there's any changes need to be made, if anything's ridiculously unrealistic with our budget, if anything's actually impossible to do. And once all those decisions and ideas have been mulled over and everything's okay, agreed with the money and all that kind of stuff, then he'll go away and finalise everything and give us a final model box, which is this, and final drawings. And then from that, we will do costings. We'll order all our materials, be it wood, steel, polystyrene, fiberglass, whatever we need to make it of. We generally do a bit of everything. And for this one, it's mainly all wood. Model box is actually sat on a section of the wall, which is this tiny bit here. It kind of gives you an idea of how big that it actually goes. And currently just working out where the different layers of bricks go and how it all goes together really. We mainly work off drawings, they're more technical and they're more precise. And the model box is usually sort of more directed at the scenic artists, so that they can look at the different textures and different colours, and so they can finish off the job for us basically. But because of how intricate this design is, we're working off of the model to basically do all the different layers of where the sort of plasterboard is and all that kind of stuff, because it's supposed to be broken down. So I'm working off of that after using the drawings to make the original plans.
We've got 10 very different sized theatres. The Royal and Derngate, where we start, is our smallest proscenium arch. Now all the theatres have, they're all end-on, they're all proscenium arch theatres. And it would be very different if we were taking this proscenium arch production to the Crucible or to Chichester or something like that, which completely different design would be required. We're playing end-on theatres, proscenium arch, but the prosceniums are all a different width. The depth of the stages, what happens off stage are all completely different. We have to have a design that looks as good in the smallest venue as it does in the biggest venue. So that's a challenge. The construction of the set is important because if we were just mounting it at the Royal and Derngate, it goes up once, it goes down once. We're putting it up and taking it down 10 times. So the wear and tear on the set itself is far greater. Loading into a wagon 10 times, loading out of a wagon 10 times, that knocks the set about. So in terms of construction, it has to be made of better materials, longer wearing materials, materials that will last a tour. We have to factor into our budgets wear and tear and costs of set repairs and paint jobs and various other things. The flooring has to be made to be put down, taken up, 10 times, and that means that everything has to be built differently, more expensively, using more expensive materials, but materials that will mean the production will last. It will look as good in the 10th venue as it does in the first venue, and that's important to us because we want the audiences to get as much in our 10th venue as they do in the first venue.